Hey, welcome back to another video. I'm Ivan Calderon, and today we're going to be reviewing Loopcloud 5 by Loopmasters. So it's been a minute since I reviewed Loopcloud. The last time that I reviewed it, I believe we were in version 3, and a lot has changed since then, so I thought it'd be worth to take another look. Now, real quick, if you're unfamiliar with Loopcloud, it is essentially a cloud-based sound library application that lets you browse, purchase, and download samples and one-shots for your music production. It does a little bit more than that, but we'll discuss all the nuances in a minute. Before we dive in though, I do want to talk about what's probably the biggest change, at least since I reviewed it last, and that is that Loopcloud is now on a subscription model. The way it used to work was that you would buy buckets of points and then use those points to buy your samples. Whenever you ran out of points, you would just have to go back and buy more. Now the way it works is you pay a fixed monthly fee for a fixed number of points that you get on a monthly basis. We'll discuss the pricing scheme a little bit later, but just keep that in mind as we move forward. So jumping into Loopcloud 5, the first thing you'll notice is a new user interface. This, to me at least, looks so much cleaner, so much better than in previous versions, so I am definitely a fan. The only thing I will change though right off the bat is I'm going to go over to this hamburger icon here on the top right, go down to Preferences, go to the View category, and under Color Scheme, I'm going to change that to dark. Now, as you can see, the homepage is now the Loopmaster store where you can browse for millions of samples for your production. On the right, you do have the most popular packs, which you can certainly browse. And at the bottom, you have the Loop Editor, which we'll go over in a minute. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again. When it comes to plugins and really just software in general, aesthetics matter, especially if you're staring at this for a long time, and I think they really nailed it here. The only thing that I might point out here is that the actual button that takes you to your library is kind of small. If you notice, it's on the top right here. The first time that I logged in, it took me a minute or two trying to find my way back to my library until I realized that it was in the top corner here. Super small suggestion, but overall, I really like this new user interface. In any case, jumping back to the bottom, we have the Loop Editor, which is not new. We've had this for a while, but it definitely comes with some improvements. At the core, the Loop Editor is essentially just a native Loopcloud audio editor where you can manipulate your sample through different parameters before downloading it to your DAW. So, as we can see, we can mess around with the BPM, the pitch, the pattern, which we'll talk about in a minute, the grid, and so much more. Now, the three new things that I've noticed since the previous versions are the inclusion of this new 8 multi-track sequencer here, the patterns, and the effects. So to demonstrate how all of this works, let me go ahead and pull up a sample. So let's go into these here, lead blues guitar. So immediately after we click on a sample pack, we get presented with the entire contents of the pack. And we have the option to buy either the entire pack as a whole, or you can buy individual samples. Just like in previous versions, you also get some information about the sample, such as the key, the BPM, and of course, the file size. It's good to mention that you could always also filter through these sample packs by using these buttons up here. So you can tell the software that you want to look for just loops, one-shots, waves, or randomize it. So let's go ahead and pick a sample. I had already downloaded some earlier when I was first messing around with the software, but let's pick a couple more. Let's do this one. Let's go with that one. So as you can see, once you click on a sample, it'll automatically be sent down to the editor where you can start to make your edits. It is important to note here that as you're browsing through samples, you will hear a watermark in the background, but that all goes away the moment you make the purchase, so no worries there. In any case, once you're here, you can start to manipulate your sound with basic parameters, but now also with effects. So if you go over to the tools area here, you now have a new button called Effects Edit, and if you click on it, you get this new effects rack. Now, once you're here, you can click that plus button on the right and bring up effects such as delays, filters, reverbs, and so many more. So let's go ahead and try a few. Let me do a reverb and we'll do a bright hall. Let's see how that sounds. Let's go ahead and add maybe a delay. Let's do this one. Let's maybe switch it up. Let's get another one in here. Let's do a filter. Let's do a sweep down. Pretty cool. Now, if you don't want to add effects yourself, you can always just let Loopcloud do it for you through the new patterns feature. Think of patterns as editing and effect presets. So, for example, if I go over to, let's say, here and click on, let's go to effects and atmospheres. I'm going to click on this one called Ascendance. You can see that it automatically added some effects. So it added a filter, a delay, some reverb, and it looks like it did something here at the bottom too. It chopped up the audio and did a couple other things. So let's see how that sounds. Now, you do have plenty of patterns to choose from, and all from different types. Now, if you do want to go back to just the original sample, all you have to do, of course, is just hit the reset button. Finally, you can also use a new sequencer, the multi-track sequencer at the bottom, to build out your tracks. So let's say you have the perfect sample on track 1. Let me just go ahead and re-add that, the pattern here. Let me go ahead and add it back in. So boom, that's there, that's perfect, and we want to keep on adding to it. All you would have to do at this point is go over to track 2, and then search for your sample, manipulate it the way you want to, and keep building your beat out that way. So for the sake of demonstration, I'm just going to pick another sample from this pack. It probably won't sound good because it's basically 2 riffs playing at the same time, 2 leads, but you guys will get the point. So let me go ahead and just, I don't know, let's pick one here. So as you can see, as soon as I hit play, it played both of the tracks at the same time. And once again, from here, you can continue to edit your second sample as you see fit and keep on layering natively within Loopcloud to create your beat. Now, once you're done editing and you're ready to download, simply head over to the left here where you see these 2 buttons. Now, here you have 2 options. You can either buy the file you are currently on, or you can buy multiple files if you happen to have more than 1 sample in your sequencer like I do now. So what will happen is, let's say I want both of these. I'm going to buy both, and I'm going to hit buy 2 files. It's going to process them. And then from here, you have the option to download them to your actual library. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to download all of them. And once we're here, you have the option to either drag over the original file or the process file. So if you guys remember on track 1, I did some edits here with the patterns feature. I have the option to either drag over the process file or the original file. So let's say that I want the process file. Then I'm going to go ahead and just click on the process button, and I'm going to just drag it over to Studio One and then just drop it there. And this is the sample. Now, I think I mentioned this in my last review of Loopcloud, but I think the audio editor is a really, really powerful feature. However, I don't know how much of that I would be using it myself, and that's simply because that's exactly what a DAW does. Personally, I know Studio One like the back of my hand, so for me, it's easier to go in here, look for the samples and the one-shots that I want, download them immediately to my preferred DAW of choice, which is Studio One, and then work there because, one, I know the software better than anything, so I can work a lot faster, and I have my own effects, my own personal favorite effects that I can use to manipulate the sample there. Not everyone is the same though, so if this method, the all-in-one method, works better for you, then it is definitely available. Moving on, the other 2 big features of Loopcloud 5 are its brand new plugins. The first one is called Drum, and this one is a virtual beat pad and drum sequencer. Now, it looks like it's filled with kits from different producers, so you can kind of cycle through them here. I believe you can also download different kits from the Loopcloud store, so that's also really cool. The other one is called Play, and this one's a virtual instrument packed with a bunch of different instruments, including strings, basses, and keys, and a bunch of different presets for you to play around with. Now, these 2 plugins almost warrant a video of their own, so if you do want me to dive deeper into these 2 plugins here, let me know in the comments below. Now, before we move on to the new pricing models, the other things worth mentioning is that just like in previous versions, you do have the option to upload your own samples, and the cool thing is that once you do, the software will automatically tag them for you, which makes it easier to find. And you also have the option to upload them to the cloud, which can help with some storage problems. Now, the way to add samples is super simple. All you do is head over to this button here called Add Samples. You click on it, and then you browse your library, your hard drive for whatever you want to import, and that would be that. Once you import your samples, they will be dumped into your library. So if you click on the button right next to that, it'll take you to your library, and you should see everything here, both the samples that you've uploaded yourself and the ones you've purchased from the store. So I should have those guitars that I purchased earlier. Here they are. So there they go. Also, much like with previous versions, you still get free sounds, but instead of it being a curated pack that was delivered to you, now you get a certain number of free samples that you can download from multiple packs in their store. So for example, if I go back to home, let's go back to that guitars sample pack. You can see, as soon as this loads up, there will be here a little tag called free. So if I click on that, these are all the free samples you can download from this pack specifically. The only thing here is that those free sounds are already predetermined within those packs. It would have been cool if you got the chance to pick your own sounds, but in any case, this is still pretty good. But okay, jumping into the pricing, we have 1 free tier and 3 paid tiers. The free tier is essentially just the app stripped down to the core features because you don't get any points to spend. So you can only use any samples that you might have already purchased from the Loopmasters store or your own. You don't get access to the effects. You only get access to 2 slots in the multi-track sequencer. You get no storage, no plugins, but you do get 5 free sounds per day. Moving on to the paid tiers, you're going to have 3 levels. The first one is called Artist, and you get 100 points for $7.99 a month. The second level is called Studio, which is currently the one that I'm on, and you get 300 points for $11.99 a month. And finally, the last tier is the Professional, and here you get 600 points for $21.99 a month. Now, when it comes to the differences between the 3 paid tiers, aside from the obvious point increase, you are just going to get more of different benefits. And what I mean by that is if you take a look at the storage, on the first paid tier, you get 5 gigabytes. On the second tier, you get 50. On the last, you get 250 gigs. When it comes to machine limit, meaning the number of computers you can have this on, you have 2 on both of the first paid tiers, and on the last one, you get 2 additional, so 4 in total. Free sounds per day, it goes 10, 20, and 50. The only other thing, too, that it looks like you get with the last 2 tiers that you don't get with the free or the artist is what's called top-up points. And it says, spent all your points, don't worry, additional points and storage levels are available for certain subscribers. So what this is probably telling me, I'm not quite sure, but it seems like for these last 2 levels, if you run out of points or if you need more storage, you can probably purchase more a la carte. And that's something that you don't get on the artist level. Now, you can also opt in to pay for these annually, and you save 2 months. So with any of these levels, if you pay annually, meaning yearly, you get 12 months, but only pay for 10. So that's always good. And of course, with any paid tier, you get a 30-day free trial for you to figure out what level is best for you. Also, if you're wondering, yes, all of these samples are royalty free, so you're good to go there. Any points that you don't spend in a given month do roll over. Everything that you download is yours to keep forever, and if you happen to cancel your account for whatever reason, anything that you've stored in the cloud will remain there for 90 days, and your points will remain frozen for 180 days. If you come back within that time span, then everything will be right there waiting for you. Nonetheless, as with everything else, I highly encourage you guys to check out their site and read their terms of service. But that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Now, I will be linking Loopcloud down below for your convenience if you're interested, but as always, like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you're not already, but I will see you on the next one.